This guy named Justin Say completely changed how I saw brand deals.
You've closed like multiple 5-figure deals, multiple 6-figure deals.
And since taking his advice, I've signed brand deals for $27,000 plus commission on top of that. Now, I did this with only having 8,162 subscribers at the time. And to be honest, even now, I'm not much higher than that. So I wanted to break down for you guys exactly how I built on Justin's strategy and the exact methods and tactics that I use in order to sign brand deals like this. I'll go over some negotiation tactics, scripts that I use for emails and text messages back and forth with brands, and I'll even go over some psychology tips for you that I found work really, really well when you're negotiating. So with that, to set the stage a little bit, there's basically 3 main checkpoints on the road from not having a brand deal to signing a contract with a brand. First, the brand has to know about you and actually want to work with you. Then you got to negotiate all the terms. And lastly, you come up with a video concept and figure out when you're going to post and all that kind of stuff. The first thing I'll talk about is how do you get a brand to know about you in the first place if they're not reaching out to you? So maybe you're a smaller content creator, you don't have people reaching out to you all the time. How do you attract those brands? And then also, how do you go out and approach them and make them actually want to work with you? The thing that I realized is that brands basically have 2 objectives. And I learned this because I've got a bit of a unique perspective where I work on the e-commerce side. I own an e-commerce development agency. I have my own e-commerce businesses, so I've offered brand deals to content creators. On the other hand, being a content creator, I've taken brand deals and negotiated from that side as well, so I have a really good perspective on both sides. The 2 main objectives for brand deals are either to drive traffic or to build awareness. Now, for you as a content creator, you're charging the brand based on the amount of value you can provide them. So if what they find valuable is driving sales, then you're going to need a lot of followers and a lot of viewers to be able to sell enough product to make it worthwhile for that brand to pay you a lot of money. Now, on the other hand, if the brand is just looking for awareness, the thing that they're actually looking for is to position their product in a certain light. So let's say, for example, you're a high-end travel vlogger. A hotel will want to work with you, not necessarily to drive a bunch of bookings from that one specific video, but it's mainly because of the style of the content that you're creating, and they want to be associated with you. Now, obviously, if you can drive a ton of sales for a brand, you can charge pretty much whatever you want because you're driving a ton of sales for them. But unfortunately, the amount of views and subscribers and people buying isn't really something that you can control. But what you can control is the quality and the style of the content that you're filming. For me, before I understood this, I was kind of creating content for everybody, and it created a situation where no one was super engaged in the content I was creating. I was just creating content with the sole purpose to get as many views as I possibly could, with no understanding of how to build a solid audience who cares and trusts about what I'm talking about. And that's when I heard Justin say this in a podcast.
And a lot of the biggest campaigns that we've had, it had nothing to do with like conversion numbers. It didn't have anything to do with views specifically. Instead, it was actually focused on just the content niche.
This one clip made me completely change my perspective on content creation and the type of content that I was putting out. And I realized that if I wanted to make more money from the brands that I was working with, I can't just solely rely on the views and the followers and signups. So instead, I really started focusing on the type of content I was putting out. I started providing a lot more value. I upped my video quality. I got a new camera. I got new lenses and lighting. I did everything I could to make my content as high quality and professional as I possibly could. When I made this switch, it didn't only help me attract more brand deals, it also brought in more clients for my agency. I have a business development agency where we work with content creators, influencers, and really anyone who wants to start an online business. And so what happened was, as I started creating higher quality content, I got more conversions at a higher rate to my company. And so now that I was creating higher quality content, when I reached out to a brand or a brand reached out to me, I had more value to offer them than just simply saying, oh, I'm going to drive conversions for you. In the same podcast, Justin said this really, really well, which is basically do as much of the work as you can for them. Lead with value.
The most important approach that most people make the mistake of is think about what you can provide for the company that you're asking something for first, because everyone always like says, okay, what's in it for me? They only think about what's in it for them, which is fair. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I can't say I'm trying to ask for tens of thousands of dollars and it's not for my benefit, but you try to kind of visualize it for them.
Now, the reason this works so well is because when you're talking to a brand, you're actually talking to a person or an employee at that company. And that person has a job. It's to find content creators, set up brand deals, negotiate, make sure they're posting on time, and report good results. So when you're reaching out to brands or they're reaching out to you, if you can do more of their job for them, the likelihood of them saying yes to a brand deal and paying you more for that brand deal goes up tenfold. Because they're not just talking to you, they're talking to so many other content creators as well. And if they realize, you know what, I can get a much better quality product here. I don't have to worry about a headache of tracking them down and make sure they're posting and video ideas. It's all done for me. I just have to say yes, for sure. I'm going to give this guy more money than any of the other content creators I'm working with, even if maybe he has a smaller audience or less views. So when you're talking to a brand, you want to come up with a concept for the video, title, idea, video examples from the past as quickly as you possibly can. Whether that's the outreach email, you go to them with an idea, or they reach out to you and you reply back with a video idea, it's going to help you a lot. I'll put an example of this company that I've been working with recently in a conversation that I had with them. You can see here, this is an example of a conversation that I had with a brand, and you can see some of the things that I'm talking about here. So I went with them, they weren't replying to me for a few days, and so I put together a couple video ideas and sent them over. And you can see, even after I did that, they still took a day to reply. I had to follow up with them. But as soon as they saw it, all they had to say was, I love this video, let's do it. It's just easy as that. They didn't have to sit there and go back and forth with ideas and help me decide. I knew what I wanted to make. I sent them an outline. They liked it. They said yes, and now we're good. The people at these companies are really busy. So for me to come over to them with video ideas, they're going to say yes 100% of the time. And you can even use this strategy as leverage when you're negotiating with a brand. Come to the table with 1 or 2 video ideas or even just title concepts for them. And that leads us into our next point, which is to negotiate absolutely everything. This part is without a doubt the longest and most tedious part because you're trying to show value and come to an agreement that makes sense for both parties. On top of that, you're also building trust with whoever you're talking to. And that's why coming to the table with ideas already ready builds a lot more trust than just saying, oh yeah, we can do something like this and being very vague about it. Now, terms can vary a lot when it comes to brand deals, but the main thing that you're going to be negotiating on is upfront payment, commission, free product, and lastly, payment terms. The goal here is to really get a solid mix of everything. And you want to use each thing as a negotiation tactic at different phases of the process, depending on when it's going to get you the most amount of leverage. Typically, what I like to do is 80% in upfront compensation and 20% in commission-based compensation. So let's say, for example, I want to make $1,000 from one video. That doesn't mean I'm charging $800 on the upfront and then trying to get $200 in commission. What that means is, if I'm trying to get that $1,000 and they're selling a $50 product, I'm going to say, okay, I think I can help them sell 10 products from this video. That's $500 there. I'm going to ask them for 30% commission, so $150, and I'll request an upfront base of $850. Now, this is just the calculation that I use, and it might vary from brand to brand for you as well. But the idea here is to not tell the company about this calculation, but instead just negotiate with this in mind. And brands are going to sit there and they're going to try to push you as far down the rabbit hole of commission only as they possibly can, because for them, it mitigates the risk. If for whatever reason the campaign doesn't go as planned, they're not out any money and they can continue on, and the person who's in charge of that brand deal doesn't look bad. And this is why having high quality content is so important, because it allows the company to get value from your video regardless of how well it performs. They're able to guarantee that worst case scenario, their product is going to be shown in a really high quality light to an audience that is going to at some point hopefully buy their product, even if that's not right in that moment. Now I want to speed run through a few objections that brands might have and also how to handle them. I'll leave a complete list in the description that have a ton more of these as well, but there's a few I want to take note of. Number 1, the brand says your rate is too high compared to the views or engagement or subscribers you get on your channel. And this is where you say, I understand your perspective, but views is just one metric. The reason brands pay me what they do is because my conversion rate is so high. I'm able to generate hundreds of paying signups because I have a loyal audience and I don't switch sponsors very often. This works really well for me because I do have a really loyal audience and I know I can drive a lot of signups. So for that reason, and because I have really high quality content, I use this one. If you're someone who just has high quality content, you're not sure if you can drive a lot of conversions yet, then you can use that, but instead just say, I have really high quality content and this is why I charge what I do. Sometimes what I like to do as well is reference what it costs me to make the video. So from time it takes to script the video, time it takes to record, pay editors, all that kind of stuff. I'll tell the brand, look, this is what it costs me and I need to at least cover my costs on this video if you want to be a part of it. Next one is the brand says to you, we don't have the budget to spend that much right now. This is where you say, because this is our first time working together, I'm open to having a minimum view guarantee on the video. If it's not achieved in 45 days, I'll make another video for free. In these situations, you never want to agree to a minimum sign-up guarantee or a minimum purchase guarantee, always offer them just a minimum view guarantee. It's a lot easier to control that. Now, if for whatever reason they say we want to have a sign up or a purchase guarantee, that's where you say, I can't control the conversion rate and how well optimized your funnel is, so I'm not comfortable with using that KPI. KPI stands for key performance indicator. Basically what that means is what are they tracking, whether it's a success or failure by. Next, the brand sends you a low ball offer. This is where you say, I appreciate the offer, but my standard rate reflects the value I bring, not just in views, but in the audience trust and conversions. If budget is a concern, I'd be happy to explore a long-term partnership where we can create a package that works for both of us. This incentivizes long-term partnerships, which is always great as a content creator, and shows them that you're still willing to be flexible. Lastly, we'll pay based on performance. This is an affiliate model. So they'll say, oh, we'll only pay you a commission. This is where you say, I appreciate the offer, but I don't work on an affiliate-only model. I create high-quality content that gets results, and my standard rate reflects that. However, I'm open to discussing a hybrid model where there's a base fee plus an affiliate component that makes sense for both sides. Now again, I'll leave a link to this document as well as a ton of other objections and how to handle them down in the comments section. Now in the negotiation process, there's one more thing that you have to clarify, and I got burned one time by this so bad that I never made the mistake ever again. Always make sure that inside the contract and during your conversation period, you discuss and it's written down and you agree upon how long the company is able to use your content. There's one time I made the mistake of not talking to a brand about this. They sent me a contract that basically allowed them to use all my content that I made for them for as long as they wanted. They included in the contract that they own the rights to all the content I created. So because it performed very well, they ended up using that content for 18 or 24 months after it was posted. And this is a time frame that, number one, I would have never agreed to, and number two, I would have made sure I've been compensated for. So I wrote down a few things to look out for in contracts that basically mean you don't own the content after you create it. You have work for hire clauses, you have perpetual usage rights, you have paid media rights, aka running ads with your content, you have unlimited usage rights across all platforms, exclusivity without additional payment, and no revenue share from ads. So if you see any of this in your contract, get rid of it. Now, I know contracts can be really daunting. All you have to do is upload your contract into ChatGPT and ask it questions. Ask it how to protect yourself. Ask it if it has any suggestions for you or things that you need to change. In my personal case, I never give usage rights for more than 12 months at a time. The reason is because I don't know where I'm going to be in 12 months. I don't know if I'm going to still like the company in 12 months. Or maybe I'm a much bigger content creator and I don't want to pigeonhole myself into one rate. Typically what I do is charge 25% of whatever the upfront payment value is for every 6 months they want usage rights. So if it's a $1,000 brand deal and they want usage rights for 12 months, it's going to be another 50% on top of that 1,000, bringing the total to 1,500. Now, I wrote down a few side notes here. Number one, clarify payment terms. It's something that I also messed up on a lot, and don't be afraid to negotiate that. Use it as a negotiating tactic. Often you'll see terms like net 30 or net 90. Basically what that means is net 30 means you're not going to be getting paid till at least 30 days later, net 90 days later. What I always negotiate is 50% upfront to start creating the video and 50% within 7 days of posting the video. And again, this is something you only negotiate right at the end. And the reason for that is you want to make brands feel like they're getting a good deal. So let's say you tell them it's going to be 1,500, you go back and forth, you negotiate it down, and the final offer is 1,250. You can then say to them, okay, I'll accept 1,250, but I want 50% payment now and 50% payment within 7 days of posting the video. This puts the ball in your court and it makes them a lot less likely to say no to that because you're already compromising once on your end by coming down on price. They're not going to make you compromise twice. It's just not how people negotiate. And last note, use other brands as leverage. Use other brand deals that you've done as leverage. I have no issue, and I do this all the time. I send brands screenshots of other contracts that I have with other companies. Obviously, I only take small parts of the contract and I blur out any information about the company or anything like that, so it's still private, but I do take screenshots and send that over to a company that I'm negotiating with. And the reason for that is people don't want to feel like they're getting ripped off. And when they see that other brands and other companies are paying that much as well, or maybe they're paying more, they're more inclined to say okay to you. It's kind of a natural human reaction, which is monkey see, monkey do. It's these kind of psychology tricks that people misunderstand and misuse, but when you use them properly, they're really, really powerful. I've had countless companies tell me, no, we can't do that. That's out of our budget. I send a screenshot of what other companies are paying, and all of a sudden, they're like, oh, okay, yep, we can do that. Now, the last thing I'll have, and we mentioned it briefly earlier, is always have a contract. never go in with a handshake agreement. Recently, I was negotiating with a company and we're going back and forth for a while. I thought we were on the same page, but something felt off. And so I kept asking for a contract. They didn't want to send it. They kept giving me excuses why. And so I finally told them, look, I'm not moving forward without a contract. I want to make sure we're on the same page and everything's outlined properly. They sent over the contract and turns out they didn't want to pay an upfront base. They just wanted to do commission only. And that's when I went back to the team and I said, guys, I thought we had an agreement here. And they go, oh, well, actually, we don't want to do that, whatever. And so what they were trying to do is get me to create content on commission only. And then when I posted the content, say, oh no, we never agreed to that. And so when you have a contract, it really just gets rid of any sort of ambiguity and confusion that comes along with going back and forth in negotiations. Because oftentimes you have a chain of 25 emails or hundreds of WhatsApp messages back and forth. And to be able to reference a contract and say, this is exactly what I need to do for you, and this is exactly what you need to pay me for my services, make sure that everybody's on the same page and there's no confusion. Put an example up on the screen here. You can see there were 5 points in this contract that I didn't like, and I say you got to change them before we move forward with this. So in these cases, what I'll do is I'll make those revisions to the contract using ChatGPT, obviously, and then I'll send them over a signed copy of that. So you can use Google Docs has it built in nowadays. You can just sign it, send it for their signature as well. And again, the more work that you can do for them, the more likely they're going to say yes to working with you. All the documents, things like that, examples, how to handle these objections, I'll leave those in a document down in the description. And with that, guys, I thank you so much for watching. I hope you like the style of video, just kind of sitting in the car talking, a little bit more chill and relaxed than normal. But with that, thank you for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video.